Hi, I'm Elly. Today I'm going to read you a story called The Flower Rain. Are you ready to listen? Okay, I'm going to read you the story. The Flower Rain. Achoo, achoo! Your cough keeps getting worse. What can I do for you, my dear? Petnim, Petnim, the baby cherry blossom tree, caught cold out of the blue during the warm spring days, which worried Mother Tree and cast a dark shadow over her mood. I feel chilly and my feet are frozen numb. It's all because of that ice. But then shivered her half-bloomed white petals with cold. Even now, Batman and her mother tree's feet were covered in cold ice. The story of why these two trees were covered in a blanket of ice goes back a few days. It was a bright sunny day after it had rained hard for some time. But Nan felt itchy as her body was finally starting to thaw when she had been frozen all winter. An army of ants crawled under her feet, and the soil on her roofs felt soft. Moreover, the gentle breeze tickled Min, which she couldn't stand, so she couldn't help it and burst into bloom. Mother Tree was proud of Batman for blooming. The villagers, on the other hand, were not so happy about it. Good heavens, there are 10 days left until the festival, but the flowers are already starting to bloom. What should we do? The head of the flower village said with a very heavy tone. What do you mean by what should we do? We should take matters into our own hands. We can't let them reach full bloom, the leader of the village young adult group said hesitatingly. He was also the chair of the Cherry Blossom Festival Committee. But how can we go against the laws of nature? We have to do something by fair means or foul. Who will come all the way up here to Cherry Blossom Festival if there are no cherry blossoms? So they gave up the cold ice as the solution. Pitney felt dizzy, not knowing what to do before her feet were frozen from the ice and her forehead was hot from the sunlight. The mountains surrounding the village presented the magnificent serenity, yet the land was so steep that the villagers had no other choice but to do rice farming. Since rice farming was arduous, young stars left for the city. There were only a few households left in the village, and even the remaining villagers were mostly seniors. However, after a large road was constructed in front of the village, people passing by slowly started to visit. And for the last several years, the Cherry Blossom Festival has been held every year. During the festival, the village is filled with tents, and the visitors outnumber the villagers. As the festival brings in a good profit, the villagers put more effort into the festival than farming. The cherry blossom trees, however, have suffered on each festival. Last year, there was a big uproar over a late bloom, and this year people are complaining about an early bloom. Why are people so capricious? We cannot do as we please. What are we supposed to do? Remember last year when the festival was just around the corner, just before we hadn't bloomed yet? They put a warm light on all of us the whole night. We couldn't get any sleep at all. People only care about money. But and her mother tree stood at the village entrance and heard about cherry blossom trees whispering and there. Did you have did you have had a did you had a sound sleep during that time? You would have become a much healthier cherry blossom tree with a thicker trunk than now. Mom, people are so weird. Tell me about it. The festival day is when we bloom. Why do people decide the festival day? Shh, what's that noise? There was a rattling, metallic noise and a loud shutting noise from somewhere. The growly sounded louder than and finally stopped a man, a button, and her mother tree. What a shame! How they're trying to change the seasons. They might as well put the trees in a refrigerator. The noise came from a village senior who was infamous for his nasty temper. He was called Mr. Burst because he was short-tempered. He scooped up the ice at the bottom of Button and Mother Tree with a pail and threw it as far as he could. After Mr. Burst finished scooping up all the ice while grumbling, he filled an empty spot with soft soil that he had brought, and he gently patted the surface. Nevertheless, he would not be Mr. Burst if he didn't vent some anger. Looking at the trees, he burst into a fit of anger right away. How impatient they are! Why did you cause all this fuss by blooming even before the 40th? Why are humans and even trees in such a rush these days? You will just wither away faster if it bloom early. Yanni gently looked at Mother Tree again. Mother Tree saw it, and yet the sunlight shined upon Mr. Burst's wrinkled forehead for her leaves. Mr. Burst, what brings you here? Oh, it's you, Gino. Are you waiting for your mom and dad again? Now, Mom and Dad said they'll be back when the cherry trees bear fruit. Gino was the only kid in the village. His dad had an illness and was hospitalized in Seoul. Since his mom had to nurse his dad at the hospital, Gino was left to the care of his grandmother in the countryside. After the long, dreadful winter and when the spring came, he would come to the bus stop every day in hopes of seeing his parents by the cherry blossoms. Strangely enough, Mr. Burst was always angry at others, never showed in temper at Gino. I only eat great when to do someone too. Did you wait for your mom and dad like I do? Of course. When I was age, I waited for my mother and father, and when my children grew up and left for other cities, I waited for them, wondering when they were going to visit to me. Didn't you wait for your wife? Why not? When I was younger, I often waited for her right here. My wife looked like a bunch of cherry blossom trees. When she walked softly down this road, the flower rain came around. She was so beautiful when she was young, but after marrying me and undergoing all the hardships in my life, she aged and died all wrinkly. Nobody can go against time, just like flowers bloom and then fall. Mr. Burst was lost in deep through his eyes wrinkled and closed. That all of a sudden he was started feeling as a dream. Geez, how foolish I am to blame my misfortune in front of a young boy. What do cherry blossoms remind you of? They remind of a popcorn. When my dad wasn't sick, I would go to the movies with my mom and dad. What about you? For me, the cherry blossoms are like rain. Lovely rain makes people happy, not the rain that soaks them icy cold. I was romantic to walk with the wife in the flower rain. Did you make your life? Oh boy, you are asking such a bold question. I hope the cherry blossoms bloom soon and the flower rain comes. Then when my parents come back, I will go to the movies. Right? If you wait earnestly, the time will come, certainly will. After the two went back to the village, but Nan asked Mother Tree, Mom, when will I able to let the flower rain come? No one knows for sure. It might be possible if the sky and the wind help. Okay, an obvious and clear thing is that there will be a time when the flowers bloom and when they wither away. How can you be so sure, Mom? I have witnessed so much days after this. Since what? Well, I didn't keep track of the years, but probably way more Mr. Burst was born. Even after that, Petmine growed for a few days because her feet were covered with a blanket of ice again. Mr. Burst, snarled at the head of the village, was pouring more ice onto Batman. "What are you doing? How could you pour freezing ice on the poor little thing? There are just a few more days to endure. What's the matter with you? I'm doing this for the village. The village festival begins when the cherry blossoms are in full bloom. The cherry blossoms are meant to bloom without anyone knowing exactly when. Stay bloomed for a short time and finally withered soon after. The feeling of longing makes us look forward to the next spring again. You don't have a clue, do you?" "Oh, come on. Are you going to support the whole village? Will you take a responsibility?" You will freeze to death. You will freeze to death. You guys are heartless." Min felt her feet frozen, but she didn't wither. The sun kept her warm, and Mother Tree moved her branches aside so that Batman could absorb the sunshine. In no time, the cherry blossoms trees finally burst into bloom, and they formed a beautiful flower bouquet. The villagers who came onto the view of the flowers marveled at the splendid scene, but at the same way they looked worried. However, some of them rejoiced. "Mr. Burst, I woke up in this morning to the cherry blossom trees in full bloom. Yes, they bloomed in the blink of an eye." Genu shouted in joy at the sight of the cherry blossoms in full bloom, and Mr. Burst just grinned. It was just a night when the stars were pricelessly bright. The flower petals on the cherry blossom trees glittered under the moonlight as if the flowers were lamps hanging up the trees. "Mom, I can't keep blooming flower petals anymore," Pitman whispered in a low voice, afraid that she might wake someone up. "It's okay, you are beautiful enough now. I wish I would stay like this forever." "So do I, but it's not possible." "Why not? What if I hang it until the end?" "Look at the magnolia. Its flowers are in full bloom, but they are still hanging on the branch to the end. And tell me what happened to them. The once beautiful white flower petals have turned now dark and look clumsy. When the time comes, we should know when to let go. I have done too much things today and I'm very tired. I'm sleepy, Mom. When you wake up in the morning, more wonderful things will be waiting for us." The cherry blossoms lanterns stayed on deep in the night. The moonlight shone over Batman and Mother Tree, cheering for them all through the night. It was a day with a gentle breeze blowing. There was still 2 more days until the actual cherry blossom festival was begin. But Genu and Mr. Birch were celebrating the festival in their home. "Whoa, Mr. Birch, it is raining." "Yeah, the white flower rain is falling. After the flower rain, the trees will bear a lot of cherries, right?" "Sure, let's wait and see. Everything comes to those who wait." A flower petals falling out of the sky gently landed on the head of Mr. Birch. His gray hair went very well with the flower petal. Pitman and Mother Tree moved their shoulders up and down as they danced in the blowing wind. The warm spring was finally here. Okay, and this is the end of the story. Thank you for listening to my story. Bye!